From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme Three podcast. Hello and welcome, cinephiles, cinema lovers, and movie appreciators to the Gimme Three podcast, the show where we normally pick three films connected by one theme. But on today's show, we are going to continue our series celebrating the outstanding, the inspiring, and the remarkably talented filmmakers from the 2025 Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival. Today, we're talking to two more filmmakers, each screening at LADFF this year. We're going to hear about their journeys to filmmaking, their approach to the art form, and of course, we're going to hear about the films themselves. And, you know, it is the Gimme Three podcast, so of course, each filmmaker will partake in a Gimme Three segment of their own. So here we go. Roll sound. We're talking today about a magical and powerful short film, The Rain Lady, which is screening with the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival on Saturday, August 23rd at the Vidiot's Micro Cinema. It is a part of our Heart Therapy block. Tickets are available right now at ladff.com. So today we are joined by the film's director and co-writer, Lyla Mzayek. Lyla, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
The Rain Lady, as I mentioned, it's a beautiful short film. Before we get into this short, I want to just talk about you a little bit, your journey into filmmaking and storytelling. Tell us how you got to this crazy artistry and profession we find ourselves in.
So I grew up making lots of skits.
Yeah.
Comedy skits. And I remember in one of my classes in middle school or something, I was probably 12 years old. The teacher told us that we could make video assignments instead of PowerPoints. Mm-hmm. And so I kept making these comedy skits for my science class, and my class really loved it. And everyone would be laughing, and they kept asking me to make more. And so I found a lot of gratitude in film that way, because I loved seeing the audience's reaction, and I loved seeing how it could affect people. Yeah. And so I kind of became very interested in film because of how it could actually affect people's day-to-day lives. And so in high school, I started making short films, and then I went on to study film at Chapman University. And my focus became wanting to bridge Eastern and Western cultures through a kind of magical realism.
Right.
Because I have an Arabic background. I think I have a very unique world perspective where I have a very balanced blend of the cultural influences in my life. And I would just love to provide, a bridge between those cultures that I think is very needed now.
For sure.
But through a magic and a play, almost a playfulness, so that the films that I make aren't just bleak, but drama focused and slice of life focused on real issues, but shining a light on those issues as well to provide some kind of, catharsis for people is my goal.
And some levity in the drama, because also from my experience, that is what life is like. Even when we're going through tough times, sometimes we need to tell some jokes or have some fun in order to kind of persevere or push through, and so it feels very real and genuine, much like you're describing your movie perfectly here. It was a nice segue.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think life is drama, but life is also comedy. Mm-hmm. And drama is comedy as well. And, they're very interchangeable. I don't think you can have one without the other. So my goal in directing this film was yes, this is a drama. This is about an undocumented an undocumented immigrant and her daughter and like their difficult day. But I was also wanting it to be a little bit funny because there is, you know, comedy in chaos and comedy in everyday hardship.
100%. So let's talk about The Rain Lady. Again, excellent work. For those who haven't seen it, for those who are going to be coming to see it, tell the audience a little bit about this short film.
The Rain Lady is a 15-minute short film about an undocumented immigrant mother from the Middle East and her 5-year-old daughter. A day that spirals with difficulties due to the mom's undocumented status. But on that day, the mom tells the daughter a folktale that she makes up that turns into this like fun, whimsical animation that ends up interweaving into their day. And through that folktale, they're both able to find a little bit of hope. And the animated folktale focuses on a newcomer in a village, a silent village. And she comes from the village of song. So her challenge is that she has to use her voice to make it rain because there's a drought in the village. And she knows she can make it rain if she uses her voice. But she has to climb a big mountain to do that and get away from everyone to do that. And so it's just about finding your voice in a time where it's suppressed. And so it's supposed to be a parallel for, you know, how a lot of undocumented people have their voices suppressed and how they have to fight to have their voices heard.
Absolutely. And it feels, Eve, your movie feels even more pertinent now than probably when you were making it. Obviously, it always feels pertinent and is always an issue. But right now, obviously, with what's going on with the current administration, it just feels so urgent and so even more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when I was making this, it was made in 2024. It felt like I had to make something like this. It was my senior thesis film in film school, and no one else was making a film that addressed this subject matter at all, like undocumented people or, you know, Arab people and discrimination toward, you know, the Arab community, xenophobia, even like being a single mom, all of these things together. I had never seen someone do something like that or discuss something like that, especially in that environment that I was in. And so I'm actually like I feel like I'm a really funny person. And I kind of had the urge to like be like, yeah, I'm just going to make a really silly film because that's what I've done in the past. But I was like, no, I think I have to do this now. I feel like I didn't have a choice. Like I had to take advantage of the resources that were in front of me to make that because I felt if I didn't, who would, you know?
Right.
Yeah. In my year, it was like the only film of its kind, I guess, that addressed that subject matter.
You know, I really respect that, and it's one thing that is continuing to surprise me as we like move through this tumultuous time. Is it feels like, and I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody because entertainment is needed as much as anything right now, but so much art that's coming out right now, it feels to be, to me, not answering the call or not answering the moment. So, you know, I really respect you realizing that and pouring your heart and a little bit of lava into your thesis film. And obviously it paid off in dividends because it's a really powerful piece.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, honestly, it's moments like this that, you know, confirm to me that I did the right thing and I made the right decision. It's people like you that give the film a platform and who are able to appreciate it. But like, believe it or not, when I was making this, I didn't have a lot of support, I guess, from a lot of people. I don't know, you know, it's people don't see the vision until they realize how necessary it is.
Right.
But you're right about how it's actually become more and more and more relevant over time and like more needed. And I definitely am so grateful that it's been received so well, because the people who have received it really see its value and they really want to celebrate it, and it has been celebrated. And just even, if I had made a more like if the subject matter in the film was more conventional or less controversial, I mean, I hate that it's even controversial, but if it was less on the controversial side, I think that maybe I would have had an easier route finding like more widespread
Right.
success.
Right.
But there is so much more gratification that I did something against the grain and that, I felt was very important. And when it is celebrated so deeply. Like
And
it is really
that's
seen.
and that's why we do this.
Yeah.
That's for it to connect, and touch people and move people. I think, that's why we get into the game. Not that comedy can't do that. Again, I'm not throwing shade at other things, but
Oh yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, you understand what I'm saying.
Of course. And I want to thank you for having this platform and celebrating, films like mine. I really appreciate it. I mean, it's we go hand in hand,
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Let's talk about your fantastic cast. The chemistry between Noor and Yada, the mother and daughter, they feel so natural. They feel so lived in. Talk to us about casting these two wonderful actors and then working with them to develop these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. So the casting process was so interesting because the actress who plays Yara, Soleya Shea, she is 5 years old.
Wow.
When I cast her, she had just turned 5. I found her on Backstage, and the hardest part about casting was obviously finding a little girl that young for the role. And I wanted her to be very, very young because I felt that if she were older, the perspective that the film was written for would have shifted a little bit. It was, meant to be told from the perspective from a very, young child. So she had just turned 5, and the thing about casting her was that she could only be filmed for 3 hours a day.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a huge risk. Everyone was like, don't do it. And I was like, I have to do it. We got like an audition from her, and her tape was she was so cute. I was like, she's gonna make the film.
Yeah.
She was adorable. She has a lot of star power, and I couldn't not cast her. So she was fantastic. And Sue Shaheen, who plays Noor, she's a fantastic actress. And so they actually like didn't get to bond before filming at all.
Wow.
But Sue's great. And so when she met Soleya, she would ask to play with her on the little breaks between shots.
Right.
And so she was like kind of creating a bond when she could. And they were fantastic together, but I hadn't introduced them or anything. And Sue Shaheen, I also found her, and she was fantastic. And I had the help of a really great casting director, Hamza Semman. And he is actually, believe it or not, the only Arab casting director.
Wow.
For Arab talent. And so you would be surprised. He's the only one.
Yeah.
But he's a fantastic guy. Oh my gosh, like I can't tell you how helpful he's been. And so he also got me in touch with Ahmed Mawaz, who plays Mo. And so I was really, really blessed with my
He's
cast.
fantastic too.
They were all fantastic.
He's got that like movie star quality where I just like look at him and I'm just like, man, I want to see that guy in like everything. He's so expressive with his eyes. So yeah, excellent job with the casting. That is a huge risk though. When you said 5, because I'm my pay the bills gig because I'm a first AD. So I
Oh,
know
really?
all about the child labor hours. And you said 5. I was like, ooh, man. That
Mm-hmm.
is,
It was
that's
it
tough.
was stressful, but it,
Yeah.
it worked out really well. I watched a lot of interviews with Sean Baker
Yeah.
for from when he directed the Florida Project, and he was talking about working with the lead actress in that film, who I think was 6 at the time
Right.
of filming, and he just like the thing about directing kids is so funny. I realized this before I started working with Solea, but I really realized it with her. It's like you can't give them like emotional references because they
Right.
don't have any
Yeah.
experience. You can't be like, oh, pretend this or like imagine this, because
Right.
it's like they actually haven't experienced
Right.
anything.
Remember some moment in your life when you're
Yeah.
like, they're like, when I lost my candy bar? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like the method that I stumbled across kind of with Solea was that if I could get her to look in a certain direction and just make like a plain watching face,
Ah,
if you cut like a plain face against anything, it will work.
yeah.
Cuz like if the thing that she's looking at is scary and you cut back to her, it's like, oh, she looks scared,
Right.
So that's what was really helpful, I guess.
That's really smart too, because there's just so much life and expression in a child's eyes. So if you're able to just get them to look and observe, you're on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like tried to make I remember like playing with her a lot in between takes and like making it feel like it wasn't work as much as I could, so that she
Right.
felt like, she actually like wouldn't want to stop playing like when we would, like start rolling.
Yeah.
So I developed a little bit of a friendship with her, and it was very sweet. It was a very rewarding experience.
That's amazing. Speaking of rewarding, correct me if I'm wrong, but your sister was the animator for this film, which
Yes.
is so beautiful. And correct me if I'm wrong, Yara is loosely based on your sister.
Yes, absolutely. So the plot of this film is like loosely based on my mom and my sister. When, my mom first came to the States, and my sister's lifelong dream was to be an animator.
Mm,
So I did base that off of her, because it's also a film about like having hope and following your dreams,
right.
against all odds. And so I wanted the little girl to have this like little aspiration, which was to make cartoons. That's what my sister wanted to do. And so I thought it was a very, special thing that I could get her to actually animate on the film. And then it would be this full circle moment, because it's like the little girl, dreams of making cartoons. And then in real life, we have actually reached the point where she's able to,
Right.
like we've made it past that struggle, and it's come to fruition. So it was a very beautiful, familial, full circle moment working with her. And yes, it was like incredibly rewarding.
And then on the real talk, did it ever get like, testy, like sister on sister? Like
No, she's my best friend.
Oh, that's
I
sweet.
I'm so lucky. Yeah, I'm so lucky. I know like a lot of people have relationships with their siblings where they're like very bickery and back and forth, but she is the best sister I could ever ask for. She's like the biggest blessing in my life. So yeah,
That's
we're
beautiful to
very
hear.
yeah,
I'm an
it was
only child, so I don't know. All I know is from what I see on the movies, and it's always, it's always testy.
yeah, I think people I don't know. I'm very lucky for my relationships with my siblings. I love all my siblings very much. But yeah, I was extremely lucky to have her work on the film.
Amazing. Well, I think that the movie is just so beautiful. It's a love letter to immigrant mothers everywhere.
Yeah.
And of course, as we talked about, it feels so pertinent right now. For our listeners, if you want to explore some more immigrant stories, check out our episode 73 of our podcast, where we celebrated Mother's Day by discussing 3 immigrant mother films. And of course, if you guys want to see another great immigrant mother story on the big screen, The Rain Lady, screening with LADFF on Saturday, August 23rd at the Vidiots Micro Cinema, 3 p.m. Get your tickets right now at ladff.com.
Yay!
And I mentioned the Gimme Three. So speaking of Gimme Three, our friend Layla is about to hook us up with 3 film recommendations, film that have inspired her work. Layla, you ready for this segment?
Yep.
All right, let's get your first one.
First one, definitely very related to this film, The Florida Project, directed by Sean Baker. I think it's a very beautiful example of a magical realism film, exploring real life drama and real life hardship, but shedding light on it by, telling it through a very like whimsical child's perspective, which I think is it's a very beautiful thing to do because it's the experience of so many children. And it also, provides a little bit of hope in its own way. I won't give any spoilers, but I think it's a really great example of a film told through a child's perspective and of magical realism in film. The next film I recommend...
I do want to say and give you a compliment. In the first 3 minutes of your film, Yara was totally giving me Mooney energy,
Yes, that was the goal. I wanted her to be as sassy as possible.
Yeah, she's like, I'm building a house. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted her to be a little bit devious and mischievous.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The next film I definitely recommend is Moonlight, directed by Barry Jenkins. It's just a very beautiful example of like a film that feels like poetry.
Right.
And it's also like a magical realism film, but it's definitely more drama oriented. And it's just a really beautiful example of like telling a story of hardship through a very like poetic lens.
Yeah.
And yeah, that film like changed my life. I was like, I want to do film. Like I want to direct.
I mean, it changed my approach to filmmaking. I had taken a break off of like writing for a really long time because I was working as a first AD, and it was like, this for all of our listeners out there, if you're like working to get in the film industry, sometimes you get really good at something and you stop doing like what you got into it for, which is like the art. And I still first AD, I still love first ADing, but like I got so good at it that it was like all I was doing, and money's good, so you just say yes, yes, yes. But Moonlight was the film that kind of like slapped me in the face and was like, you know what, I want to do what I came here to do, which is to write again. So Moonlight was for me also a really seminal film.
That's really beautiful. So is your main like art form or like aspiration writing
and directing? Yeah.
Writing and directing. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm really glad that it resonates with you too. It's a very special movie.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Beautiful picture.
My third recommendation is a little different than the first two, but it is Fish Tank, directed by Andrea Arnold. And I'm like obsessed with Andrea Arnold movies. I think she's probably my favorite director. But what I really like about Fish Tank is it's focused on a female story. I think a lot of Andrea Arnold's films are female focused, but they're focused on kind of like chaotic women,
right,
in chaotic environments and just following their character. So Fish Tank is kind of a character study on this girl in a really like underprivileged and unfortunate situation, but she's so funny because she's kind of like very reckless. You love her and like you root for her, but she also like makes every worst decision. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to explore that kind of like almost like primal recklessness,
right,
in women and people, and just let them take out their anger on the world. But like, she's not telling these stories in a way that blames these people. She's just showing them in their truth for who they are. And in that way, you're like actually able to appreciate them and feel for them. And so
there's a lot of similarities with, I think, all the three of the main characters in the selections that you've picked.
Oh, you know what? Now that you say that, I think so.
But anyways, sorry to interrupt, but I was like, as you were talking, I was like, those are kind of like all describing all three of the main characters.
Yeah, that's true. Chiron kind of is like voiceless, and like his voice is very suppressed, which I think you can see in like the mom a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, that kind of like reckless energy in Mooney and in the main character in Fish Tank. I definitely wanted the mom and the daughter to have this like cathartic release.
Yeah.
Where they are able to kind of find their voice and kind of fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
Against, not against the world. And obviously they're not fighting, but I just wanted them to have a little bit of a release. In the chaos. Yeah.
It worked so well. There was I felt a catharsis at the end of your film, and just like a beautiful little bit of like rebellion, or like we're still here with that final moment. I think
thank you.
You pulled it off.
Thank you. That was cool. I mean, unfortunately, the rebellion is like existing at this point.
Yeah.
you know? But it's like, I think that scream is very like telling. It's like, I wanted them to find a moment where their voices could be heard. Even if it was alone, even if it was in their backyard, and like, but in that moment, it's like, it's something to them and it's enough, and they're like existing. That's, I guess, what I wanted to highlight with that ending.
And you highlighted it masterfully, I will say.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare to film.
Oh, I'm sure. Nighttime, 5-year-old, rain. Yeah. Oh man.
It was the ending was one take. It was
wow.
I couldn't get multiple takes because you can't make it rain on them twice, or else they'll be wet at the beginning of the scene. So I had one take of the final scene. It was.
Oh, that's stressful.
I was very lucky. Yeah, it worked out really well.
It did work out really well, but yeah, I think about it. It's like, you can't dry them. She's got 3 hours. Like, it'd take forever.
Yeah, it was like a one take wonder. So it worked out beautifully. I was praying a lot before that, but yeah.
Amazing. Well, Lyla, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for A, making your film, and B, sharing it with our festival. We can't wait to share it with our audience. We're very excited. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to have been able to talk to you today. And yeah, thank you for giving my film and me a platform. Once again, August 23rd, Saturday. Tickets are available right now at LADFF.com. Come watch The Rain Lady with us. Come watch The Rain Lady. All right, we're going to take a quick break, everybody. And during that break, you're going to hear from Gimme Three producer, LADFF director, and my wife, Sonja Mereu, for a segment that we call Sonja's Movie Minute. So stick around for that and much more right here on the Gimme Three podcast.
Hello, I'm Sonja, and this is my Movie Minute. Last week, I went to see Ari Aster's new movie, Eddington, which takes place during the COVID lockdowns in May and June of 2020. The film led me to reflect on that time and the 5 years that have followed. There are so many thoughts, memories, and feelings, too many to share here, but I do have time for one. Things were confusing, unfamiliar, and there was constant talk of the things that might be changed forever. Would we ever be able to eat indoors again? Would we be able to gather for large events like concerts and sports? Would we go back to working 5 days a week in crowded offices? And the big one for us cinephiles, Would we be able to go back to the movies? I remember when my favorite movie theater, the New Beverly Cinema, announced that they would finally reopen in June of 2021. Tears immediately started pouring down my cheeks when I walked into the auditorium, soaking my mask. I had decided that I could live without bars or restaurants if I had to. I had fully adapted to wearing a mask in public, and it didn't really bother me. But my soul had been yearning to go to the movies, apparently in a deeper way than I even realized. In 2020, LADFF swiftly adapted and moved our festival online. It was actually a very successful and fun year on many levels. The best part of screening online was being able to offer our programming to viewers across the globe. In 2021, we did a hybrid festival since theaters were still at partial capacity and many people didn't feel safe indoors yet. In 2022, when we were able to move back to a fully in-person festival, I was as emotional as stepping back into the New Beverly after their 15-month closure. Sharing a movie with a group of like-minded strangers is like nothing else. Walking out of a theater and hearing the buzz of everyone talking about their experience is so much fun. I'm really excited to be in our new venues, Vidiots and Lemley NoHo, to sit in theaters full of strangers sharing movies, and to talk about them with everyone after.
All right, everybody, we cannot wait to screen Kisses and Bullets screening Saturday, August 23rd with LADFF at the Vidiots Micro Cinema. Tickets are on sale right now. Today, we are honored to be joined by the film's director, Faranak Sahafian. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
And before we dive into your film, Kisses and Bullets, I want to talk a little bit about you and your journey. You have an incredible story. You're from Iran, and then
Yes.
I read you have a background in poetry as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I grew up having grandfathers who were, well, it's interesting because they were both in the army. They were army generals, actually, but they were very interested in literature and specifically poetry. So that was always such an interesting concept for me in their characters. And they spend a lot of time, both of them, especially my dad's father, just reading me poems, like older Persian poetry, and just kind of like talking with me about them and what they mean, and like what are their stories, because our poetry is also very much like rooted into older stories and myth, so that kind of started it, and then I started writing when I was very young. I think like my first poem, I was like 8 or 9, and there was like, these like cute like magazines for like children's writings and stuff. So I got like published in those, which was really exciting. I remember that. And yeah, that kind of honestly started the storytelling for me.
Yeah.
And then I later realized that, I mean, my poems were always very visual. So then I realized that maybe I would like to explore film. So yeah.
I'm so interested, since you are a poet and now a screenwriter as well, if you can talk to us just a little bit about your writing process, because we have a lot of writers who listen to our show. What is your writing process like? What's your writing routine like, if you have one? I know some people just say it's chaos, but if you have a routine.
Sure. I feel like that changes over time, but usually it's an image that I have in mind, and it's usually the images from the ending of the story and there I want to leave the audience with. And then from that image, it usually builds up to be a bigger thing. So it's really kind of like finding, like kind of looking at that image and figuring out how we got there, basically, I would say. And I do like to like write a little bit every time, and just like write scenes or write characters. But when it comes down to writing, I do like to kind of like start from like a structure, like a journey, and then kind of like build through that. So it's like very much like free form, more creative at the beginning. Then it gets really like structured, and then again, it's time to play a little more.
Right. And you start adding in all the flavor.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk to us about writing this film, Kisses and Bullets, which is screening with LADFF. Beautiful, powerful film. Tell the audience a little bit about the movie.
Sure. So, I mean, this film was made like when I was writing the film, it was basically like right during the Women Life Freedom movement in 2022. All of the Iranians inside Iran and outside for the first time felt very connected through the movement, through the social media, the pictures that we were exchanging. And that script was written based on like my experience as the one who was the immigrant one and my friend's experience in Iran. We would both go to protests, we would both like exchange photos. And for the first time, we would realize that, oh, I mean, I moved from that same country and you're still living there, but we are kind of going through the same thing no matter what. Um, so that script was truly built on like those experiences, was one of those stories that just kind of like, it was easy to write because of that. And it was hard to make because of that, I would say. So yeah, that was kind of like a summary of the process.
And talk to us just about the making of it, because as you said, I'm sure it was hard to make in terms of just
Sure.
also creating it, but and the emotion of it as well. But you guys shot it in New York, or you shot it in Tehran?
We shot in New York, for sure. I mean, we were unable to get permission to film such a film in
Right.
Iran, and it was, I would say, it was very hard to tell a story about home when you're so far away from home. You want to stay authentic because the story is, of course, very important to you and to the people you know of, and you are trying to kind of like give yourself that artistic freedom to explore, but you are also trying to stay authentic. And there's really like there's so many hard choices to make, I would say. And when it comes down to a story like this, when you're making it so far away from Iran, there's also the question of, okay, where do we film this? How do we make this actually look and feel like Iran? So we went through with my production designer Julie and my DPCC. We went through like so many images of like movies or photography coming from Iran just to figure out how to frame things, how to light things. And we shot everything exteriors of Iran. We shot in Queens. So there was this alleyway that we figured out would be best for us to like control. And we kind of like really tried hard to like, break everything down and make sure everything looks exactly like how it would look in Iran. It was extremely challenging, I would say. Yeah, but I mean, it happened. I'm like, I was so surprised when we were screening at Tribeca, where like the audience did not even know that. Like when I told them that this was not shot in Iran, they were surprised. And honestly, that was the best reaction that I could have gotten. I
Yeah.
was definitely happy about that. Yeah, a lot of planning made that possible. But we were also lucky to have people in the film who were on the projects because they were invested in the subject, whether they were Iranian or they were my friends or my collaborators who just knew about the events and were very passionate about telling a story about what the Iranian women were going through at the time. So that was definitely very valuable and added so much to the film, I would say.
Yeah, you guys really pulled it off. It looks
Thank you so
tremendous.
much.
Um,
Okay.
Talk to us about collaborating with your actors, because your two leads, they both deliver such wonderful performances. Talk to us about finding those actors and what it was like working with them on set.
Thank you. Of course. I mean, I was lucky to work with honestly such wonderful women. I worked with both of them for the first time in this film, but I knew them and their work from before. So they were both very active in the theater community in New York. I mean, Shadi, my lead acting as Anahita, she's a theater director. So she was a great collaborator for me because I remember the first time we met and like sat down and talked about the story. It was such a fulfilling conversation. Same with Bahar, playing Yalda, the woman in Iran. I also remember from the very first conversations, she had so much to add to the story because, again, we were and our families and our friends in Iran were all going through the same thing. So that kind of like brought us together. I would also like to mention that all of my other cast, Arezu, playing Shabnam, or Samuel Tehrani playing Mani, the boyfriend, or Abraham Makani playing the man who just like passes, even the man who just passes by.
Right.
They were so invested in their story. We had so many conversations about like where we think these characters are coming from, what they're going through, what are they looking for in the future, like what do they think will happen after these protests, after these movements. So definitely it was really like a bond between us. A lot of the process was just creating that bond. So when we were on set, we were all kind of on the same page. We knew what the story is. We knew who this character exactly are, what their background is. That really helped us. And honestly, we were just like having fun. We all loved working together, and that's something you can never deny how big of an effect it has to just being happy to be there and just like having fun, just talking with each other at lunch or, so it was fun.
The vibes were immaculate.
Yes, for sure.
I noticed when watching the film, which I thought was a really lovely touch for both of your main characters, Yalda and is it Anita?
Anahita, yes.
Anahita. We have glimpses or we have scenes with both of their mothers as well.
Yes.
And I thought that was a really beautiful choice because we have protests for women's rights. And I love that you put the mothers in there as like, this is the generation before. And now we're kind of like still fighting this fight. Talk to us about making that choice and creating that.
Sure. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that was such an important part of the film for me that I really needed to touch on, although it was a hard decision to make of how much we can explore that side of the story in such a short time and such a short film. But to summarize where that comes from is that I feel like the generation before these characters, before these main girls, their mothers, basically, they were fighting the same fight, but they were fighting it in a quiet way. Right. They were fighting it inside. They were fighting it while also protecting themselves, their families, and their children from getting hurt. And when this movement happens, it was kind of the feeling of like all out. So this generation kind of like came out kind of really honestly suddenly, this younger generation. And everyone, like our parents, they never see this coming. They never see this coming from them. They never thought that they would be fighting the same fight, basically. And so I really, for example, there is a shot in the film that I think this is the first time I get to talk about it. And I'm so happy that the Yalda's mother is actually taking off her hair tie and laying back. Versus in the movement, it was actually a symbol of going to this fight, going to these protests, was to like tie the hair back. So the woman started, posting these photos of themselves just tying their hair back. So for the mother to do that, I really wanted to kind of like imply where they stand, basically, both of them. Right. I mean, she's watching the news, she's excited by the news. But when it comes down to their own selves, to their own families, sometimes they want to just take off the hair tie and just sit down a little bit. Yeah. And it's about getting out at that moment. For us, at least, it was about getting out and being like, if not me, then who? So I think that was the difference I was trying to kind of imply there. But I'm so happy you brought that up.
Yeah, I loved it. I really loved that touch, and it came across beautifully.
Thank you so much.
I think the film, it's so well done, and I think it's so obviously important right now. Things going on in Iran, but all over the world, it feels so universal. People having to stand up against regimes or war, genocide, corruption. What do you hope audiences take away from your picture, Kisses and Bullets?
Sure. I mean, I really hope that after watching the film, audience will leave by thinking kisses will always overcome bullets, and that it's really about love, and that could really defeat anything, in my opinion, or at least I want to hope that would defeat anything. And what was beautiful about this movement was I mean, they were like other uprisings against the regime in Iran before. But what was unique about this movement was that it became about the basic needs, the basic need to love, to just live the way you want, to like to like dress the way you want, to express what you actually think. And the years before, during the other uprisings, this was usually like, oh, but does this really matter? We have bigger things to worry about. But it is actually, for me, the core of it is that love, and is that being able to love what you want or who you want. So I hope that the audience live with that.
I think you accomplished it wonderfully. Our friends at home, you guys can watch Kisses and Bullets with the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival on Saturday, August 23rd at Vidiot's Micro Cinema. It is part of our block called History in Motion. But right now we're going to switch gears a little bit. Faranak is going to, she joined the Gimme Three podcast, so she's going to discuss not only her brilliant film, but she's going to recommend 3 more brilliant films.
Sure.
So it's the Gimme Three segment. Faranak, let's get your first picture.
Sure. As my first picture, I want to go with Mulholland Drive.
An incredible twisted movie.
It is. I just really enjoy just watching movies that follow like women, especially like women characters in parallel, or kind of like make them look very different or very similar in various ways. That's just very inspiring to me. So yeah.
Do you remember the first time you saw Mulholland Drive, what your reaction to it was?
Yes, actually, I first saw Mulholland Drive because I was in undergrad. I was developing this short film idea, which actually I'm now lucky to be working on as a feature in development. But this idea named The Dark Room kind of like made my teacher in undergrad be like, oh, but have you watched Mulholland Drive? I feel like you would really like it. So that story that I was writing was also 2 women in parallel, and it was also more of a surrealist story. So then I watched it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is a dream! Like how could one make this?" I'm like, I don't know what to make sense of it, but I love it, and I just want to watch it again and again. And I'm every minute of it, I'm surprised. So it was such an interesting journey for me as an like undergrad film student to watch that film. Yeah.
It's one of those movies too where every time you watch it, it feels like it's giving you something new and something fresh, which is the mark of great artwork.
Exactly.
For our listeners out there, if you guys want to check out, we did a David Lynch episode right after he passed, and we discussed Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead, and Blue Velvet. So check out that episode. It's a great chat. But excellent first choice. What's your second pick?
My second, I would go with Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I've noticed not many people actually, at least that I talked to, have watched that film, and I recommend it a lot, and I feel like everyone ends up liking it.
Oh yeah.
I really like the way that just the rhythm and the music in that movie kind of like explores his characters and kind of creates a space for us to like feel with them what they're feeling. It's a really beautiful film. I love it.
There's like a quiet rage in that movie that I think I like, and when you brought that up, I was like, oh, I can actually see a lot of similar themes to Kisses and Bullets with that picture as well, and just talk about a beautiful, like every image in that is a painting. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, all the compositions.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire, incredible movie. Okay, now we're gonna get your third and final pick.
Sure, I'm gonna go with Frances Ha, just because I watched it so many times. I really enjoy the writing, and all the performances are very just like the humor is very much the humor that I enjoy, and I just really love the honesty in that film. It's black and white, but it is so kind of like goes by very fast every time I watch it. It just makes me feel something about like my own life and where I want to go and where I want to be. And I also really find like the relationship between the two girls in the movie interesting, and yeah, just very inspiring.
Yeah. It's no surprise seeing that movie and Greta's writing and her performance. It's no mystery like how she became this powerhouse filmmaker.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
One thing I like always love about that movie is it seamlessly blends like joy. There's some scenes that are just so joyous and so much fun, but there's this undercurrent of loneliness and like middling depression that's just like, oh, okay. Like that's life right there.
I know, like just such a good, it's like, yeah, it's such a good combo of everything you need.
Yes. Well, those are three excellent choices. The rest of our guests are going to have to step up their game, Faranak, because those are going to be hard to beat.
Thank you.
We want to thank you so much for joining the Gimme Three podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your movie with the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival. We are really honored to be screening it, and we are forever rooting for you. So
thank you so much.
Let us know if there's anything we can do.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Bye.
I want to thank both of our amazing filmmakers for joining us on today's episode. You can follow the festival, the film festival, on Instagram at LA Diversity Film Fest. LA Diversity Film Fest on Instagram. As I mentioned earlier, visit LADFF.com for tickets, screening dates, screening times, trailers. You can sign up for our mailing list there. And if you dig this podcast, our podcast, the Gimme Three podcast, there's a couple ways to support us. Easiest way, set our episodes to automatically download. If you download our episodes, it really helps out our podcast. So just set those up. And then, if you're on a plane or something, you don't have to be holding to the damn Wi-Fi. You could just rock with us sans Wi-Fi. Number 2, we do have a Patreon for a mere $5 a month. It really helps keep the mics on, and there's some bonus content on there as well. Number 3, just post about us, tell your friends about us, share the wealth, share the love of Gimme Three. Unless your friends don't like movies, they probably won't like this show, but who doesn't like movies? Only jerks. So anyways, those are 3 ways you can help us. We want to thank you all for listening to this episode of the Gimme Three podcast, and we will see you at the movies and at the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival.